Oh, hot night here in New England. I want to briefly talk to you about a likely reason that you feel stuck with these manifestation concepts and a way to unstick yourself that you probably are not going to hear from most of the famous law of assumption, law of attraction type of teachers, let alone all the influencers and bullshitters on YouTube. If you don't know who I am not a bullshitter on YouTube. I'm a best-selling author when it comes to metaphysical and stress management concepts. You can get one of my books for free below. I've written multiple books that have been bestsellers in those categories over the years. And I try to look at these spiritual manifestations, stress management concepts from a much more grounded place, which is what most of us need. And what we, I think, are largely unaware of, at least the vast majority of us, 98% plus of us, when we get into these ideas, is that almost all of them sound good on paper. They really do. So many of these manifestation ideas are so evocative and mesmerizing and hypnotic when we initially hear them. It's very easily to initially resonate with them. I mean, heck, I'm not just talking about like Neville and, Joel Goldsmith. I'm also talking about even something like The Secret. Like, you watch the movie version of The Secret, and if you're new to this stuff and a little bit spiritual and a little bit intuitive, you're like, man, this sounds pretty good, right? Now, today, someone like myself, I'd be laughing my ass off, at The Secret. But when I initially got into these ideas, when I rewatched that movie, I was like, this isn't bad. And it's because so many of these ideas are tantalizing intellectually, right? Thought creates your own reality, right? You're an unlimited creative being, right? Your imagination is what shapes things. The problem is when we get deeper into this stuff, for almost all of us, again, 98% plus of us, we find it's not nearly as easy and straightforward as these evocative sayings and these intellectually stimulating, intellectually clear ideas like everybody is you pushed out. Not nearly as easy to integrate and actually understand that as we initially hoped and thought when we first start mentalizing the concepts. I remember when I first read Neville, I was like, man, this is true. What he's saying, he's getting at something that's very accurate, and this should be simple to integrate. And I learned very quickly, holy shit, was I wrong. The crazy thing is, most people never realize, they never come to that point. They stay with it and keep on failing, and might manifest things occasionally using sats or affirmations or whatever. Isn't it wonderful? But they don't feel any more fulfilled doing the Neville stuff, and they end up on Neville Reddit, discussing this stuff in chat rooms with crazy people. There's those folks, or there's those folks who like get excited when they initially read Neville, and then after a while they just give up because it's so hard to actually do consistently. And the reason for that, there's many reasons. And again, my book, The Law of Attraction Simplified, you can get a free copy. Link is in the description. Talks about many of those reasons. But a big reason for it is that just because something sounds good and intellectually makes sense at first, and we want to believe it, doesn't mean that it's actually fucking true. Just because something initially passes the mental test doesn't mean it's going to pass the whole body test. And what's confusing is I think most of the great manifestation type of teachers from last century, as well as this century, but people like Neville or Joel Goldsmith or Emile Coué or Catherine Ponder, Florence Scovel Shinn, W. Clement Stone, I think that they, generally speaking, had a very somatic, in-the-body understanding of these ideas. But almost all of them, if not all of them, then explained them in a very conceptual, mental way and didn't discuss the somatic aspect of it. And that, my friends, is what fucks most of us up. This stuff is in the body more than it's in the mind. the imagination is not just your mind, what's going through your head. Like A plus B, it's more like A Z poo cuckoo baba na 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 coco mamana. That's what's really going on. That's much harder to make sense of and to refine and to work with than just like A, B, C. This shit's not logical. Yet Neville or Coué or whoever often makes it seem logical and like this mental formula that you can set up. No, the truth of the matter is, Neville was a great dramatist and incredibly in tune with his body. He was incredibly somatically in tune. But you wouldn't necessarily know that just by how he taught this stuff. Likewise, Coué was an incredible hypnotist. And he understood that the imagination is not just mental, but it's your whole body and being and how it reacts and behaves towards things, right? And if you were in the presence of people like that, it wasn't necessarily what they were saying that mattered that much. That mattered a little bit because they wanted you to buy into the concept, but it was their presence. It was how they were conveying everything with their body, with them actually being there. And this somatic element is totally lost when we just look at the teachings at face value. They make intellectual sense a lot of the time. They excite us. The concepts sound good on paper. Everyone is you pushed out. That's an interesting concept on paper. In reality, especially somatic reality, it's nonsense. It doesn't mean fucking anything. It's a cool saying. That's it. And so much stuff is like that. The other day I made a video about saying how, like, Neville's got that famous saying, feeling is the secret. Feeling is like somatic. That's how, like, you feel in the body. In the video the other day I was saying, well, feeling's not necessarily the secret. It's recognizing truth, recognizing what's actually going on that is really the secret a lot of the time. And recognizing truth, what's really going on, is somatic. When you know something to be true, you know it to be true, not just from this mental way, like, oh, A, B, C, but it's like, I know. I feel and I know. That's recognition. God is here now. Either you know that or you don't. It's an experience. It's an experience. It's a somatic experience. It's a mind-body experience. And most of these LOA teachings are just explaining stuff from the mind perspective. Even if the best teachers, like Neville and Coué, were mind-body masters themselves, they explain it still mainly from a mind perspective. This is very different than, like, we talk a lot about, like, internal family systems, IFS, that Richard Schwartz therapeutic modality, or I've been mentioning recently Eugene Gendlin, who is the author of this book Focusing, and was just a great philosopher and a great counselor, talking about dealing with feelings. And when you start working with the body and not just the mind, holy shit, it's a totally different ballgame. And I'm telling you right now, that's why so many of you are feeling dissatisfied with these LOA concepts and integrating them. It's because you still think you have to figure it out with your mind. I have to do more techniques. I just have to, stay in the fulfilled state. I just have to do this. I just have to do that. That's all mental. And meanwhile, what's really going on is everything right now. So, I don't know. This is probably, I guess, went over some people's heads, but I know some of you dug it. If you need help, if you're interested in coaching and counseling, you know where to find me. Links for my books can be found in the description as well. Until next time, be well. Use your whole mind and use your whole body.